Hi friends, welcome back to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. So I hope today's lighting isn't too weird. I didn't want to use the lighting because I'll be moving around the house. I want to address a question that I got from many people in my science, geography, social studies, art and history video that I put up. Our picks for the upcoming school year. I talked about how we use a literature-based approach in many of those, and people were wondering how we organize and store the materials. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour, I guess, of the spaces that I store my literature-based curriculum. I do want to mention a few things, however. So my circumstances are different from many other people in that I have 4 children who are very close in age. They are, I've mentioned right now, they're 12, 13, 14, and 16, and they're pretty close in ability, somewhat close in ability. And so I do teach a lot of them together. And so that reduces the amount of stuff that I need to keep on hand. I don't have to keep curriculum past when my youngest child has used it. And I don't have a huge age span like some people have. So there's that. The second caveat is we also use what is called a parent partnership program here in Washington State. And it's sort of like a charter school. And so a lot of our curriculum is technically borrowed for the year. So I don't store stuff year round. I would say the time of year when I have the most stuff would be in the fall when we get that from our parent partnership program. And as we finish things, I am making a box. And as soon as the box is full, I take it back to the parent partnership program. So a lot of the things I don't have to store long term. I do have to figure out places for them at the beginning of the school year, but as the school year goes on, the items start to get less and less. That being said, I am a homeschool mom, so I have plenty of things lying around the house, plenty of piles, and I do want to say that my organizational system is not the most maybe beautiful. It's not perfect. I like to have things available and close on hand. To me, efficiency and being able to get to things is more important than hiding things away. So a lot of visual, I would say our house can be quite visually cluttered for people who are sensitive to visual clutter. I do try to keep the floors generally clear and I do have organized piles and spaces, but yeah, it might be kind of chaotic for some people. So I'm just going to show you where I store some of our literature-based things, maybe just where I store my curriculum in general. And I just do want to mention that the physical storage of it is only one factor. I am also storing information on my computer. I do make lists and charts and graphs and things that help me organize my thoughts because I do mix and mash different literature-based curriculum together. So that is something to keep in mind. So the first part of the video, I'm going to show you my physical places where I keep my curriculum. The second part of the video, I'm going to show you how I organize my thoughts and arrange things so that I sort of know what I'm doing when I'm meshing curriculum together. So stick around if that's something you're interested in seeing. Okay, so let me get you turned around and I'll start my tour of my spaces. Like I mentioned, I'm an organized, messy person. So things are not exactly beautiful, just effective for my homeschool. So don't expect like Pinterest or picture perfect. That is not what I'm going for here. And so I'll show you my real spaces. This is the slightly tidied up version, but I didn't have a lot of time to like go all out. This is not an organizing video. This is just this is where I keep things video. So let me turn you around and let's take a look. Okay, so here is the corner in our living room. This is where I usually film, if you recognize that. In this corner here, I have kind of a mix. This is where I keep my science experiments from last year. Yes, those are from last year. This box here is a current bin that my daughter is, as she's completing different assignments, she is putting them in there because they are sort of models and things like that, as you can see there. Okay, so up here is where I have some of my literature-based curriculum. So first of all, this is just my bin with some future curriculum. This is out because I just pick up curriculum as I see stuff that I'm interested in. So this is just free stuff I picked up recently. That's why that bin is out. Normally I have a closet in my daughter's room that I store some curriculum that I'm not currently using. This here is my Beautiful Feet Modern World History bin. The reason it is out is because, well, we've been talking about using that in the upcoming school year. And so all the books that go with this study are currently in here. We did start the study a few years ago, but we didn't get very far. So all the books that I own are in here. And then anything I don't have here, I probably will be getting from my parent partnership program, and I can pick that up at the time. Here is one of the ways I keep organized as well with a literature-based approach. At the beginning of each year, I have typed up for each of my children what I am hoping that they will read in different categories. So we have world history readers here. So as you can see, we're I think we might be up to here for him. So he's about halfway through what I had hoped. We do have my geography readers, so he did a bit more than expected there. These are more, not free picks, but I'll show you where I have a pile of books that they can pick from. If they get farther ahead in their history than we are currently studying, then they pick from there. And geography was something we were just doing on the side. So I have one of these for each of my kids, and they have slightly different things on there based on who they are. And I just use a wet erase thing. And usually I'll just photocopy this at the end of the year for my own records so I can keep track of what they read just for myself. I don't actually have to keep records here, but I do. And then this pile here are all, let's see, these are geography books. And so I have some from the library that I'm just keeping in stock in case my child needs it, and just a few geography books here. So as she needs them, I can pull them out here. So she's currently working on that. My 9th grader is currently working on that. And then these are the astronomy books that I own or I just have on hand. And as we need them, I can go through and find the books that we need. I'll show you the ones that we're using right now. This is a new pile. This is a pile of books that we have finished. And I'm pretty fast to put them in a bin and get rid of books that we are done with. I don't keep books around too much. So this area here, this was all full. And as you can see, there's quite a few spaces now. So this was our world history readers and read alouds. And at the beginning of the year, it was more than full. And like I said, as I finish up books, I return them to our parent partnership program. So that's why this area is not too full right now. And then these are books I have on hand. These are kind of more the free pick readers that I have. So I kind of have books at my children's level. And so if they finish, like I said, if they get caught up on their world history readers and they are getting ahead in that, then they can pick from here. Sometimes I have some things from the library that I just keep checking out, and some of these things we own. And then I just keep my morning basket, like future morning basket, in those two areas there. So these are future possible morning basket items. And then we just have a few art bins there. Now these books over here are just free read books. These are just books that we have. So I frequently go through this shelf and I weed through stuff that my kids are too old for. Like I said, my kids are very close in age. So I'll go through and I'll make sure that things fit on this shelf. And then I have this is where our computer is usually connected to our TV. We do a lot of from the computer to the TV, like watching YouTube videos or World Watch. It's like a Bible shelf. I have a few of these middle school books here. And then I have some more nonfiction type here. And then this bottom area here is often just library books. And then I have this bin. And this bin is kind of where I've been storing my daughter's Whirlwind World History books, or books I want to use for her. And so there's just a few in there. And yeah, I'll talk more about which books I pick up for things like that, like the Whirlwind World History, and how I decide where I'm going to get what. But this is a new ottoman that we got just because my husband likes to have something to put his drink on. We don't really have a coffee table, and so I can put books in it and we can move it around. So that's sort of what we've been putting inside of that. Then I have these 3 bins here. These are usually the things that are on topic with what we're learning. Currently, they're often library books. So these are all library books based on Australia, New Zealand. And then we have some geography books over here, and so sort of random books as well, and random computer right there. And then I would say over here is more of my literature-based stuff. So here are all the instruction manuals, Bookshark, Sunlight, instructor's guides. I have my CTC math printouts, sort of how to do math sort of thing. So I just have those things there. So that's where I keep the instructor guides. But then up here are all my printed ones. So I'm trying to keep this this is social studies sort of books. So I have a few that I want to use in my morning basket when it comes applicable, a few upcoming things. I have all my printed out, mostly guest hollow guides here. So we have government, economics, personal finance. I have whirlwind world history, geography and cultures. And then this is my discovering Earth's wonders. So I have those there. And so basically social studies sort of area. And then this is more my science area. So science living books we're not currently using, some of my favorite like textbooks. And the same thing, I have Guest Hollow's Chemistry in the Kitchen guide. I have Guest Hollow's Junior Anatomy guide and Guest Hollow's Actions and Reactions. So this is sort of my science shelf where I keep maybe not currently scheduled, but just available items that I could use in the future. So that's sort of what those are there. These are random. These are more teacher, parent, teen books. Yeah, this is a mess a little bit. This is like my Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis, and Little House on the Prairie shelf here. And then these are like books that are coming up in our read aloud. So we have like The Horse and His Boy, Mission to Cafe we never did read, but it's there in case I want to, Little Britches, and then just a few things that I'd like to read as read alouds. So that's kind of where I store those. Okay, so here's my sort of a computer area. There's a Mac that we picked up from a friend that we don't use because we've never used Macs before, and so usually I have a computer here. It's currently on our dining room table. But okay, so here is also where I keep piles of my literature-based things. So this corner here is where I keep my geography. So Guest Hollow, high school geography, the core books that we use all the time, I kind of just keep a pile there. On top of that, I just have an activity that I want to do later this week. And so I'm just putting it here so I remember it. So that's why that's on top there. Normally this area here would be my pile of health books because we just finished, or we're finishing up Guest Hollow's Junior Anatomy. And so normally I'd have the pile of books here if they didn't fit on my morning basket. And then here is just some loose leaf paper and stuff I need to take to school. And then I have my morning basket bin here. So we go through, we're rotating through 3 different Bible things. Some of the things are missing because my boys didn't get to group time one day, and so because they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, so they're doing stuff on their own. So some of this is missing. It's usually pretty full. So I just have my rotation, my morning basket rotation in here, and then a few subjects that we do, like we have the living harmonies and the high gas fee. So that's just here. And then back here right now, I have what I'm doing for Guest Hollow. So we're learning about drugs and alcohol, smoking, and tuberculosis. And so these are the books we're reading in Guest Hollow currently. But if I don't have enough room on my cart, I would stick it here in that pile there. So that's kind of the morning basket cart. I just have more just random things at the bottom there. And then this is how I bring my literature-based homeschool on the road. It's normally in the back of my van, but we didn't actually have to go anywhere this week. So normally we're doing library school twice a week with my middle school boys. And so this is how I kind of carry around all my literature-based stuff. So this is the current read aloud that I'm doing with my boys. This is just a thing of loose leaf paper. And then I have, let's see if I flip this around here. So I have my science books here. I have my Kingfisher encyclopedia that I read with my boys. They have their notebooks, more science books here. So most of that is science and history, that area there. And then I have my Beowulf grammar and my IUW writing lessons, little binders with their kind of loose leaf paper and their writing in there. And then this is like an answer key and an answer key for Bible workbook. So this bin has been amazing. It is so easy to move. I basically pull it out of the back of my van, plop it on the ground. It has wheels. It has the handle for pulling it, and it's just really easy to move around. So I'm just going to stick that back. So I brought it in this week because we've been doing, because we didn't have stuff at the library this week, but it was like that. So that's where that's living at the moment. Now I'm sort of in my kitchen area, and I have a cupboard in my kitchen area. It's looking pretty good right now. This is not normally this neat, but I did go through it recently. I have a bunch of devotionals here. These are devotionals that I bought for the girls to pick from this school year. So they have the ones they picked, and then I just have the leftovers here. I need to kind of do that for the boys. Random paperwork stuff. And then I'm sort of accruing some of my upcoming curriculum here. So I'm just sort of storing that in there. And so that's just a cabinet in my kitchen. Are you ready for this? This is behind my couch. It's not normally this much. You can see my light there that I'm not using today, but it's not normally this much. I am currently listing curriculum to sell. So anything that I own that we've used that I want to get rid of. So I have a bin here that I haven't listed yet. This is sort of, I have extra Chronicles of Narnia, extra Little House on the Prairie books, books that I pulled off the shelf because my kids are too old for it. And I think similar there. And then this is a bin that's going to maybe a consignment store in the area. This is just a bunch of packing in case I need it. I just have it available. Packing paper. I have a big box here full of curriculum that I'm selling. So I've already listed it. It's right there so I can get it shipped off and ready to go. And so I have a box that I've been cutting apart to kind of help with shipping. So we have kind of some shipping stuff going on here. So this area isn't normally full of stuff. That box is actually empty at the moment. The kids want to play with it. I should let them color it and stuff. And then this area here also has some just shipping supplies. However, let me get to the bottom of it and show you what I have down there. But honestly, the pile here in the corner, it lives there. Yeah, it lives there. It's just stuff that I haven't been able to put away yet. So that lives there all the time. But let me show you what is in this box. So here is this box. This is the box that I am accumulating things in when we are done and we are returning it to our parent partnership program. I am throwing them in there. So that's why I don't have as much stuff lying around as people who purchase this, because as we are finishing the readers or the read alouds, I am putting them in here. Okay, so also on the shelf back here, what I didn't mention was I do have several of the same books at times, sometimes 2 or 3 copies, just in case my kids are reading the books at the same time, because we do have 3 or 4 kids doing the same history at the same time, and I do use the same readers. So sometimes they take turns, but if I can pick up extra copies from the parent partnership program, I'll pick up 2 or 3. So usually 2 is enough. 2 kids are probably reading at the same time, maybe not 3 kids at the same time, but sometimes I'll pick up 3. So I do have some extra copies of readers there. And then the only other space that you haven't seen that has my curriculum is part of my daughter's closet. I don't want to go in there right now. She's not feeling well. So think of maybe some of these bins. I probably have 4 bins like this, that I might have books like future books. I know books that are coming up in our literature-based curriculum. I might save them there. So I have a bin of those sort of books. I have a bin like this of future curriculum. I do have a larger bin that also has some unused curriculum in there that is sort of maybe future curriculum. Maybe I haven't decided if we're using it or not. It's just, so the stuff in the cupboard that you saw are more things that I'm probably going to be using in the upcoming school year. And then things in the garage in the big bin are more things that are really nice and I want to keep them in nice condition, but I don't have plans for them currently. So that's sort of my organization of my curriculum, my homeschool curriculum. I'm going to go jump on the computer and I'm going to give you some ideas of how I keep things organized in my brain and how I'm planning for the upcoming school year. Okay, so I'm going to take you on my computer here and show you just a few of the ways that I organize my thoughts when it comes to a literature-based program. Okay, so this was something that I made last year in trying to plan, especially Guest Hollows curriculum. I wanted to know which books I wanted to buy, which books I owned, which books I was going to ask my parent partnership program to buy for me. They cannot buy religious ones, and I have to be reasonable in my requests. We don't have like an unlimited budget. So what I did was I had each of the different literature-based programs here, and I went through the time period that I was planning on doing. So Whirlwind World History, I knew I was only going to do about half of that. So I planned for about 2/3 or 3/4 of it, just so I had enough books. So I went through and I looked at each book and I decided which ones I wanted to actually use with my daughter, because you don't want to use all the books when it comes to Guest Hollow. And so I basically put what weeks that they would be in use so I know when to expect it. And I did organize it according to weeks. And then I put on if I owned it. OL is open library, so I can get this open library. So I don't have the link for that here. I'm not sure why, but I put OL for open library. I put EV for Ever And. Ever And is a subscription that has tons and tons. It has ebooks, but it also has tons of audiobooks, and that is what I use it for. I will link my Ever And subscription referral link below. If you use it, I think you can get like 2 months for free, and then I get a month for free. So if you are interested in a subscription program that has like tons of books, like we use audiobooks whenever possible. We get audiobooks from the library whenever we can. Even more than that, though, I've been finding books on Ever And then there's not a time limit, and it doesn't get returned after 3 weeks, and then we have to re-request it and listen to a different book while we're waiting. So yeah, I really love Ever And. So check it out if that's something you're curious about. But I found this one on Ever And then I just went through all the different weeks. So this is LI for library. This is our parent partnership program initials here. And so this is me planning what I was going to use with my daughter in our history course. This one I just got from the library because I had it here and I knew that I needed it from the library. So I got that from the library, and I'm going to have to be looking at these next ones over the next few weeks. And I know that I can find these at my library, or I could when I did the research. And so I just know where the books are, and so I can get them as needed. It looks like I planned. So I did plan till about week 21, maybe 22. No, I think around here is where I stopped. And then later on this year, as we are continuing next year, I went through the rest of the books and I made a list. So there's just a few more books that I need to get, one from the library, one my parent partnership program has, and then I bought this one. And then I have question marks here. Do I want to buy these? I probably will buy them. So that's that. And then I just had a bunch more books that I wanted to add and where I can get those books. So that was my history. And then this was my chemistry in the kitchen. So my daughter's other literature-based program. I planned for 2/3 of the year with my parent partnership program. And then she's going to be out of that. So next year I am going to be responsible for any books that she needs. So I'm going to have to look at this myself more closely and see what books I need to purchase. But looks like a lot of these got picked up by my parent partnership program. Some were already in the library there. Some we used Ever And's audiobooks here. And yeah, so I need to look at these last few weeks, and I need to schedule. I only got up to like week 30 here. I need to take a look at the rest of the weeks and see what I want to purchase or get. So it looks like a lot of books from the library. I can still borrow some of the books from my parent partnership program if no one else has them out, because my sons will still be in that program. So I can still use their library. But yeah, so that is my chemistry in the kitchen organization. And then I was planning on the government, economics, and personal finance from Guest Hollow, but it is pretty challenging course. So I am just going to put that off for now, but I was doing some planning here, and I planned the first 6 weeks, and I just kind of was going through the same process. So that is one of the ways that I was planning last year for just kind of figuring out what books I wanted to use, because I'll forget what books I want to use. I need to do the research ahead of time, what books I want to use, what I'm going to get from the library, what I need to buy, and what I can get from parent partnership program, or where can I find the book. So is it on Ever And? Yeah, how did I find that book? So it just kind of helps me to keep notes on these things. Okay, so this is something I also created last year. This was maybe last year or the year before, just an example of how I try to organize my thoughts. So this was, we had Guest Hollow World Geography. I have A Child's History of the World here. I have Book Shark World History. I have Beautiful Feet Modern World History. Oh, I updated this. This is why it's like this. This chart was from 2023, 2024. And I recently updated it to kind of go along with what we're doing in the upcoming school year. So what I did was I have the era here, so I can sort of organize by era. Sometimes I will, like if we're doing geography, I like it to match up a little bit with what we're doing in history. So like different world wars, different times but we're focused on different areas, then we can learn the geography. And so this sort of helps me organize my thoughts as well. And so I have the country focus here, like what is the focus during that time. I have Guest Hollow's world geography, where, and I kind of have highlighted the areas that we have studied, looks like. I'm looking here. So the areas we have studied is yellow, and so the areas we haven't studied are still white. So I know that we could go and study that area during that time period when we're at that point. I have a child's history of the world. These are ones that we haven't listened to yet, so I sort of lined that up with the history. So most of this is based on the history. So I have Bookshark World History. This is based on, I should say, World History H. So I went through Bookshark, the instructor guide, and I sort of decided what time period each of these weeks are. And I lined that up with the country focus, and I lined that up with a child's history of the world, and I lined that up with what we could be doing in Guest Hollow. And then Beautiful Feet, Modern and World History. This is how much we have finished. So once we hit this area in Bookshark, so week 26, that's when we would want to start picking up our Beautiful Feet, Modern World History and start doing those books here. So that is that. That sounds a little complicated. Maybe this next one will be a little more concrete. So this is one I've been working on recently. So like I said, I just make some spreadsheets, graphs, and things to try to keep myself organized. So once again, I have the era and the topic. I have the week here. This is based on Bookshark. And this week 20 is based on the current Bookshark we're on. So we never finished our current one. So I'm going to reborrow that with the end of the books. So we're going to be doing Bookshark G before we move into Bookshark H. I don't want to skip a whole bunch of history just because we didn't get to it. So I have the weeks organized here on the side here. So when it says 1, it's starting the new Bookshark level. So that, and then I also have the era and the topic here. So I sort of know where in history we are studying. So that goes down like that. And then I went through the guides and I put the read alouds here, and I put the read alouds for Beautiful Feet are going to go here. As you can see, they show up later. So in that line there. So I have the Bookshark read alouds here, and I have the Beautiful Feet read alouds here. So when we get to that area, we're going to slow down and focus a little bit more, do a little bit more American history along with our world history. And then I have each of my kids here, and I have the books that I want them to read or possibilities for them to read. And so what I'm doing this time to keep track for myself is I'm going to put it in green once they have read it. So this son here, he has read these two, and he's currently working on this one here. This son has not gotten there yet. And then I added the Lexile reading levels because I do have 4 kids and they have different reading abilities. So I can schedule out different things based on their reading level. So actually, Adam of the Road was not a read aloud, it was a reader, but I know I can get that on audiobook. So that means I can listen to it in the car. And I saw that it was a bit higher. And so this daughter here, she doesn't join us in the car. So actually I'm going to move that right here. I'm going to add that to her list here. So she's going to do that as a reader. The rest of these kids are going to be with me in the car. They're going to be doing that as a read aloud in the car. And then this one I don't have any of those books here for her yet because she's not joining us until next year for more modern world history. So I will just start her reading the books wherever we are in history, and she'll be doing modern history with us in the upcoming year. And then down here, I have ones in red. These I think are question books. So some of these books are Bookshark, some of these books are Guest Hollow. And so I've just sort of gone through like Horrible Histories, that's Guest Hollow. Samurai Rising, that is Guest Hollow. The rest of these are Bookshark. And so depending on the child, like my older, she might do more of the Guest Hollow ones along with the Bookshark ones. And then my younger two can do the Bookshark ones. And maybe even the ones that are a little bit easier because their reading level isn't that high. I haven't gone through and gotten all the Lexile reading levels for all of these books yet, but that will help me determine which ones they should be reading. So that is my latest chart. So those are some examples of how I organize my literature-based homeschool, both online, and I have charts, I have graphs, and then I have, piles. Really, it's just they're piles of books and areas, sections of books. And I try to organize them in the order that they're going to be read. And I get rid of them or move them along as soon as the last child has read them, just to keep this space manageable, because my homeschool room is my living room, as you can see. And so lots of stuff. And then, yeah, right here at the dining room table where I'm talking right now. So we just have homeschool stuff everywhere. Homeschool is life, but that's how I organize my many literature-based homeschool curriculums. I hope that was helpful. Please give me a like if you like videos like this, and if you want to see more, do subscribe. I'd love to see you again. Let me know if you have any more questions about how I organize my literature-based homeschool. I am planning on making another video that some of you asked me quite frequently, and that was, how do I grade, or how do I give a grade for my high schoolers? So I'm going to make a video about that, on how I personally do it, although there are so many ways to do it. So yeah, I'm planning on making that video for you soon. So stick around. Thanks for coming today, and I hope to see you all in a future video. Bye, everyone.